Good day, everyone. We are the Group 3 representing our SIP entitled Investigation into the Viability of Papermaking Utilizing Dried Leaves.
Background of the study. Experts now recognize paper as a very important human invention. However, the increasing need is gradually using up its raw materials. At the same time, deforestation is worsening. The number of trees is steadily decreasing due to logging. Therefore, it helps lessen cutting down trees that is causing soil erosion, flood depletion of native forest resources. This study will find a better alternative way to reduce tree cutting by making paper from dried leaves instead to help protect the environment. Additionally, this study will guide the researchers to produce alternative and eco-friendly product by using dried leaves as replacement of the materials used in paper making. Statement of the problem. The primary materials for paper production is wood, and it is necessary to manage with the decreasing supply of trees to the environment. With this, the creation of a substitute paper from dried leaves such as cacao, mango, and talisay leaves has been identified as a solution to the problem. Additionally, this study will be determine the capability of dried leaves for several resources. Okay, number 1. What are the characteristics of the paper using the different treatments using the proportions of dried leaves in terms of texture, quality, and appearance?
3.
How effective are the dried leaves in making paper for several resources such as bookmarks, scrapbook, and paper decor in terms of usable, durable, and writing quality?
3.
Significance of the study. The investigatory project assesses the possibility of producing paper making from dried leaves. Thus, if this study succeeds, then it will be significant to the following. Researchers. The researchers will be benefit by gaining knowledge about dried leaves and production of paper from leaves. Students. The students will be benefit by using the paper product as their substitute or alternative, and that will help lessen the needs of paper trees.
3.
The community will be benefit to have a new source of production of alternative paper. And lastly, the economy. The economy will be benefited by producing paper from dried leaves from preventing cutting trees for paper
experimental
making.
paper to the environment and to the students. The study is entitled An Investigation into the Viability of Paper Making Utilizing Dried Leaves. Will undergo the experimental methodology to be conducted at St. Tony's College Incorporated, focusing on students from 4 sections: Elizabeth, Mary, Martha, and Eunice. This study will only be limited for 5 students selected from each section. The finished experimental product will undergo through a survey questionnaire. The survey will be conducted through focus groups and through experimental groups. The material required are the silk screen, towel, collection of dried leaves, and a blender. There will be 3 kinds of tree that the leaf sample will be taken from, namely cacao, mango, and talisay. The survey questionnaire will only be limited to 20 students from grade 12 STEM students. The respondents came from different sections to avoid bias of their observation. The results, however, are restricted to this particular group and might not apply to other grade 12 STEM students. With only 80 respondents in its sample, the study admits its limited capacity for generalization. Definition of terms. Viability is the ability to work successfully by Oxford Dictionary. Fiber is an element that gives textures or substance by Merriam-Webster. Pulp is a soft, wet, shapeless mass used in paper making by Oxford Dictionary. Dried leaves are the main ingredient in making experimental or alternative paper. Hypothesis. Based on the problem stated, the following hypothesis was expressed in a precise form. Alternative hypothesis. There is a significant difference on the experimental paper from dried leaves and commercial paper. Null hypothesis. There is no significant difference on the experimental paper from dried leaves and commercial paper.
The foreign literature for eco paper, as stated by Sabolenko A. 2017, the company doesn't harvest from woods in order to preserve the integrity of forest ecosystems, where fallen leaves promote biodiversity and topsoil development. After being transported to the processing facility, the fallen leaves are cleaned and loaded into a special chemical reactor in which, under the influence of physical and chemical processes, fibres are extracted from the raw materials. The paper that is produced later on is based on these fibre. Sustainable. According to Gupta A. and Kumar R. 2016, this article reviews the use of agricultural waste for sustainable paper production. It discusses different types of agro-waste, including leaves, and their potential in the paper-making process. The findings highlight environmental benefits and the potential for reducing resilience on wood pulp. Lastly, the leaf paper. According to Hu and Guo M. 2020, this research focuses on the chemical properties of various leaves and their viability for paper production. It is also addressed the technical aspects of processing leaves into paper fibers and the environmental benefits of using plant-based materials.
Waste according to Shukla S. 2017. This article represents an overview of sustainable practices in paper production, specifically highlighting the use of agricultural waste. It reviews existing literature and emphasizes eco-friendly methods that can significantly lessen the industry's carbon footprint. So, Acacia, as stated by Abdullah M. et al. 2021, the pulp and paper making industry is looking for a new main raw material based on its physical, chemical, and morphological characteristics. Currently in this industry, bagasse is the most useful raw material in pulp and paper industry. The objective of this study is to determine its sustainability for pulping. So we have the local literature, banana. So Castillo, De Guzman, and Barilla 2023 conducted an environmental sustainability assessment focused on repurposing banana waste, specifically the CO2 stems into food packaging and liquid fertilizer. This research is relevant because it explores innovative ways to reduce waste and create valuable products from agricultural byproducts. So, particle board according to Allegre E. et al. 2021. Bananas. From the trunk to the leaves are not fully utilized and frequently end up in the landfill after the fruits have been harvested. The waste generated during the production of coconut and banana crops are not commonly used.
According to Palma et al. 2023, fast-growing crops are of great economic importance in the production of paper pulp and energy. The commercialization of the bioactive components from underutilized parts could provide additional value to these crops. Agarwood Batubara R. et al. 2021. Bioactive compounds of ethanol extract from agarwood leaves, Aquilaria malacensis, and antimicrobial activity against bacteria and fungi growing on the skin. Agarwood plants or Aquilaria malacensis lamp provide numerous benefits and have been cultivated by the people. Banana fiber, Tares Q et al. 2017. Each year, the agri-food industry produces millions of tons of lignocellulosic residue, which could be valorized for its composition. Taking into account the economic cycle, this valorization is increasingly necessary and important.
Subject of the study. This study investigates the development and availability of paper making locally and sourced by dried leaf from Bulana, Tabuk City, Kalinga, focusing on the availability, environmental, sustainability, and eco-friendly compared to paper that made from decayed trees and potential for promoting community awareness of illegal logging and utilize dried leaves as a solution. Dried leaves as a paper, the main raw material in the study are dried leaves from any type of trees. By avoiding illegal logging. Research design. This study used experimental approach as its research design to determine the viability of utilizing dried leaves such as cacao, mango, and talisay as the alternative material in paper making. In this study, the researchers will use one dependent variable. The collection of dried leaves will be the main ingredients in paper production. The dependent variable will result as its appearance or the texture of the paper and how will the product that researchers develop relate to the community. It is a countable substitute that makes research saving and avoiding cutting trees and landfill reduction. In this study, by using dried leaves, zero waste economy is used to implement the principle of using dried leaves for eco-friendly products. Dried leaves are washed after it will be shredded into little pieces and be dried out and be boiled for 3 hours so it will be easier to mold into a paper.
Procedures. Cut the dried leaves into smaller pieces so it will boil easily. Boil the dried leaves for approximately 3 hours. Put the boiled dried leaves into the blender and blend it. Combine water, baking soda, and glue in a large container or a basin, then put the blended dried leaves in it. Strain it using silk screen and use a sponge to absorb the water. Place the experimental paper in a flat surface. Dry it in a direct sunlight for 2 to 3 days. The statistical treatment. Texture. To determine the texture of the paper made from dried leaves, it will be measured by the formula. Texture is equal to mass of baking soda over mass of dried leaves multiplied by 10. Durability. To determine the durability of the paper made from the dried leaves, it will be measured by the formula. Durability is equal to mass of baking soda over mass of dried leaves multiplied by 10. Appearance. To determine the appearance of the paper made from dried leaves, it will be measured by the formula. Appearance is equal to mass of baking soda over mass of dried leaves multiplied by 10.
Table 1 is the property of solidity of the paper made out of dry leaves in terms of duration of drying. In this table, it shows the quality of paper such as soft, hard, and very dry. Table 1.2, the solidity property of paper made out of dry leaves, the amount of baking soda that we need to prepare to make a paper made out of dry leaves from the lowest to highest, soft, hard, and very hard. Table 1.3 shows the possible outcome utilities of paper made out of dried leaves, such as bookmark, scrapbook, and envelope. Dried leaves can also have a potential to create a cardboard, illustration board, and canvas. Table 1.4 demonstrates the positive evaluation of the paper made out of dried leaves is linked to their practical accessibility, meaning they are easy to find, always available, and user-friendly. Table 1.5 shows the bookmarks, scrapbook, and envelope are effective in terms of price, since it's budget-friendly, affordable, and have a low price. Table 1.6 shows the benefits of using dried leaves as an alternative material in several utilities. First is eco-friendly, recyclable, less deforestation, and sustainability. The researchers conduct a survey at St. Thomas College Incorporated to know the satisfactoriness of the product and to their perspective suggestion about the product that the researchers introduced. The survey questionnaire is the instrument that the researchers use to determine the answers to the respondent. The researchers use a random sampling in total of 20 respondents to answer the questions in the survey questionnaire. The following tables are the findings of the conduct survey that the researchers created. Table 1.7 shows the design for scrapbook making that people usually use. 9 of the respondents choose old newspaper, 7 of the respondents choose organic materials, while in old vintage map, 4 of them chose it. The total responded in the first question of 20 respondents. Table 1.8 shows the design made of paper, dried leaves, and recycled materials. 9 of the respondents select paper, none of the students select dried leaves, then 11 of the respondents select the recycled materials. Table 1.9 shows the alternative of materials in making scrapbook. 4 of the respondents chose dried leaves, 8 of the respondents chose plastic, and also 8 of the respondents chose hemp or abaca. Table 1.10 show the people who consider to try paper made out of dried leaves to lessen cutting down of trees. 20 of the respondents selected yes, while none chose no. Table 1.11 shows the number of the people who vote for the benefits using dried leaves as alternative materials in several utilities. 16 of the respondents chose the less expensive, 1 of the respondents chose less deforestation, and 3 of the respondents chose waste reduction. Table 1.12 shows the number of the people who vote for the benefit using dried leaves as an alternative material for several utilities. 10 of them chose the accessible in the choice, 7 of them chose the affordable as their answer, while the durable 3 of the respondents select it as their answer. 1.13 show the people's choice where they would like to purchase the product. The paper are made out of dried leaves. 1 respondent chose the school supplies, also 1 student chose the bookstore, and 18 of the respondents chooses the art store. Table 1.14 shows the people's suggestion for the improvement of the product. Paper made out of dry leaves as an alternative for several utilities. 2 respondents chose the texture, 1 respondent chose for the quality, and 17 of the respondents chooses nothing, and 0 of the respondents chooses the durability.
This project investigates the viability of using dried leaves such as cacao, mango, and talisay as a sustainable alternative to traditional wood pulp paper. Recognizing the environmental impact of deforestation, the research aimed to develop an eco-friendly product that studied employed an experimental approach processing dried leaves into paper and evaluating its characteristics such as texture, quality, and appearance, and potential uses like bookmark, scrapbooks, and envelopes. In short, this project proved that you can make good paper from dried leaves. People like the idea because it's good for the environment, and it could be a cheaper way to make papers. The investigation into viability of paper making utilizing dried leaves presents a fascinating opportunity to explore sustainable and innovative materials. First, the standardization of the leaf preparation process and paramount. Second, the precise control of dried leaves proportion within the paper pulp is crucial. Furthermore, the standardization of the paper making process itself, encompassing pulping sheet information, pressing, and drying methods, will minimize variability and enhance the reliability of result. Meticulous documentation of all procedures, measurements, and observation, supplemented by photographic record, will enhance the transparency and reproducibility of the research. Additionally, includes a control paper made from 100 recycled paper pulp. Is a vital comparative analysis. Specific tests such as tensile strength, tear resistance, thickness measurement, water absorption, and folding endurance tests are also recommended. These science investigatory projects successfully explored the viability of utilizing dried leaves, specifically cacao, mango, and talisay, as an alternative material for papermaking. The research addressed the processing environmental concern of deforestation caused by traditional paper production by investigating a sustainable eco-friendly alternative. Through experimental methodology and subsequently survey analysis, the project aimed to assess the characteristic and potential utilities of paper derived from dried leaves. In conclusion, this study provides a promising foundation for developing sustainable paper-making practices. By utilizing readily available dried leaves, we can mitigate the environmental impact of traditional paper production and promote a more eco-conscious approach to resources utilization. The positive feedback from the community, coupled with the support from the related literature, underscore the potential for this innovative product to contribute to a more sustainable future.